I'm Maria Menounos, and you're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Oh yeah, look who's in a driver's seat tonight. It is Heel Jen right here on the Raw After Show. We have a big Raw to break down, tons of stuff going on. But before we start breaking things down and breaking things, we will go to the man that's giving us a side look. The man who's got a DJ booth behind him. The man who is taking weddings right now in applications for weddings. The man himself, Jack Farmer.
What's up, Jim? You know it's going to be a good episode when we got the heel in the hot seat. How you doing? Thanks for hosting the show. Thanks for being. Why am I thanking you? You're the host.
Keep on thanking me.
I love it.
And then the man who's usually in this seat, but not in this seat. The man who's takes the wave and adjusts it properly. He's now taking the back seat and relaxing with his title in the background. The man who says, "What's up, Flobo?" all over online, internets. Man himself, Flobo Boys.
Yo, thanks so much for having me on the show, Jim. I know the last time the three of us were together being the Heel Boys, they closed down the studio, but now we're here chilling, having the time of my lives.
This is like Heel Night 2.0, but just
was Heel Night the last episode in the
No, I think it was next to last. Yeah, I think it was like next to last.
Sorry about that one. Man, we got a huge, and by the way, I don't need no introduction. You people know who I am, the greatest heel in AfterBuzz history, the king of AfterBuzz. Need I say more? The Jim Alexander, in case you didn't know, you first timers. But we are jumping in right into it because this was a packed Raw tonight. Oh yes, go ahead.
I just want to say, the chat says the host chair has been turned into a throne.
That's right.
Oh,
live from the King's Court tonight, by the way. So you know we'll get down there too because lots going on tonight. But this Raw was packed. I mean, we had returns, we had contract signings. There's just a lot happening tonight. Overall thoughts, Jack Farmer, what we saw tonight, anything that stood out in particular to you tonight?
yeah, of course. This was the night of Apollo Crews, and I thought it was really cool that they gave him some time to allow himself to legitimize his shot at the Money in the Bank contract. I agree with you. It was a fun show.
Flobito, do you have a Andrade shirt, by the way? Is this an Andrade?
I do, because I wore my Apollo Crews shirt on Wednesday NXT, so I can't wear it again. So I wore my CN Alma shirt because TCN.
Well, jump right into it. What are your thoughts? I'm sure.
Man, Raw was packed, but it had a bunch of filler. It was like a nice little pillow, right? So we got some new stars, returns, but a lot of times in between, I was like, man, do we need to go 40 minutes in this match? Really? Really?
You know, here's the thing about tonight's Raw. It starts like every week, pretty much. We had the first match, which was a 3-on-3 match between Andrade and, do we have a name for this stable? Anyone come up with this? Zelina's guys or Zelina's group? That's probably a better name. Versus Rey Mysterio, Aleister Black, and of course, your guy, Flobo, Apollo Crews. Okay, I'm going to try to say Crews instead of Creed because I know that's a tough one to keep.
Or Terry Crews is the other one.
Terry Crews too. Two guys way over Apollo Crews. That's for sure.
How is Terry Crews not a wrestler?
You should be.
He was in Battle Dome as T Money. Go back and check that out on YouTube. T Money, Terry Crews.
That's right. There you go. Flo, I'm going to start with you here tonight. It's almost seemingly every week we see this Zelina faction starting off Raw. It's like they've become the resident openers for every Raw. It's the same feud, same thing kind of going on. What did you think? This time it was the Money in the Bank competitors versus the guys who kind of didn't make it there. What did you think about that match as to start off the night?
You know what? I gotta say that that team, that stable that doesn't have a name, they're pretty strong on what they do. But this just talks about the problems of Raw's mid card because they had this heel like faction, and there really isn't a foil for them. So every week it just becomes them running a roughshod. But at the same time, they don't really get any higher in the ranks. They either win or they don't. But I guess this week was pretty cool because we had a little bit of the Money in the Bank kind of thing, and Apollo got some offense in, but it's going to get old pretty quick if you don't give something to Austin, to Garza, or the third one, Andrade.
Jack Farmer, let me ask you about this group. we're fans of, right? Me and you especially, of Zelina.
I'm
what
just kidding.
Yeah.
Well, you should be if you aren't. But here's the thing. They're not really getting over. Today, another loss picked up by another member of this group. We're saying that they need to get wins because it's not happening. And they're not going, are you souring on this group as every week we see more of them, but they keep on losing more? What are your thoughts on this group going forward right now? Because it doesn't look too promising.
Yeah, I think this group A to Z, you know, because they all have A's in their names, and Zelina's got a Z in her name.
Okay, I like it.
You know, I think you both have hit the nail on the head. They're running roughshod. They're doing what they want. I think we all love them, but every time they get in the ring, they lose. And you've got to give people wins to make them seem legitimate. As one Evan T. Mack used to always say, you got to get dubs. And I think Andrade's gotten beat every single time he's been in the ring, except for tonight. I'm sure we're going to get to that in a little bit. And I think I have some comments on that. But you got to start looking like you can win. If you lose in the ring every time, who cares what you're doing otherwise?
Yeah, you know what, Flo? This was, like you mentioned, it was your boy's night today. It was Apollo's night. We had the backstage segment with him and Andrade. Andrade's still continually taking classes from Shinsuke Nakamura on how to talk on a mic. And just
how to get slapped in the face.
And he did get slapped in the face. Oh, so Apollo gets the win in that match, right?
Yeah.
So did you think this was a teaser that he is taking that title tonight after that backstage segment where he gets the title shot? Because I thought it had to been that laid out for him to take that title. Were you surprised what led up happening? And what did you think even of his little promo that he did backstage? Because I thought it was weak.
Oh, damn.
Both of theirs.
You know what? I was telling to Jack that I'm surprised of what happened, but I'm not shocked. You know, Money in the Bank is on the horizon. Up until about half an hour ago, Apollo Crews was still in the match, but he's officially been pulled out of the match. So I can see him not getting the United States title tonight because what would be his thing of getting it. But at the same time, you don't want to totally get destroyed by Andrade because Andrade hasn't really had a long-term match to reestablish why that title matters. So I was totally fine with a dusty finish or no contest. What we got was a little interesting. I didn't know what Apollo can be strong enough as a performer to hold down these injury angle, but it's the most they gave that dude in 4 years. Run with it, bro. Run with it.
Jack, do you think this was a detriment to Apollo? Because he goes out. Listen, we see Andrade not picking up the win. Of course, again, no pin for him. Or if he doesn't job out or lose to someone, he doesn't pick up a win either. But where does this set up Apollo going forward? I mean, with the match, because he's faking. I mean, apparently he's got an injury, but is this a week-to-week injury? Is this going to cost him money in a bank? The repercussions of this could be huge because Apollo could look like someone that's just saving a spot for someone to come in and take it away from him. How do you feel about the ending and going forward with that injury that they played off for the rest of the night?
Yeah, it was really weird to me. I'm assuming the injury is for the show and that it's not a real injury. I don't know. I could be wrong on that. But it seemed very weird. It felt like the whole night they were trying to build up Apollo Crews. First, they had MVP come out and say, look, he's my pick to win it. He's the only one MVP, let's talk. He comes out. He looks great in this really long match. He gets the pin in this really long match. He gets a promo backstage. He slaps the taste out of Andrade's mouth so hard. One of the biggest.
That was a good slap.
Night. And then they have this long match later in the night. And I get the reasoning for losing, but it wasn't like Andrade won either. It was this very, it was like a sentence without an exclamation point at the end or no period at the end. If you're going to have him lose, at least have Andrade take advantage of the hurt leg, and put him in a move so he can actually lose. At this, it was just, he wasn't able to continue. Andrade didn't look good. Apollo didn't look good. It felt like he did this huge build for nothing. Nothing came of it. And it was kind of a letdown.
Well, yeah, like you said, no one looks good in this. Andrade certainly doesn't look good because the only thing he gets is losses, right? When was the last Andrade win? A clean win, especially. And that's a while away. Yeah. And now Apollo Crews, here's the thing, but it's not pushing Apollo also. I feel like if you put him in this position, he better take that title. Because first of all, Andrade has done nothing with that title, just been a placeholder, basically. He hasn't really done much defending or, with the suspensions or injuries, whatever the causes are. But you need to, if you're going to push Apollo, you need to have him get that title. Because at this point, I feel like they were teasing a push, but when he had an opportunity to actually, make something of this push, they pulled the rug from underneath him. Tell me, Flobo. I mean, for me, it looks like it's like a half-assed push for Apollo because, hey, he's now being featured. He's brought over to Raw. He's getting some matches. He picks up a win earlier. He gets a title shot, and then he gets a rug pull. And now he might not even have a match at Money in the Bank.
Yeah.
What's the plan here going?
Well, here's what I fear. And I feel like it's a new prototype in storytelling because of the evolving area of professional wrestling. Raw is 3 hours. And you don't have the roster you have. So if you have these little self-contained stories, then I can guide you through segments 8, 9, 10, and 12. So like, even though he got pulled, I hope there's more for Apollo. But for someone like me who's an Apollo stan, this could have been a really cool self-contained story. This guy comes out, gets put over, gets the pin, backstage. He may do it tonight. Oh, he doesn't. It just reminds you back of the old Saturday night main event kind of thing. So that's probably the only reason why. But yes, if you're sitting there watching, like, what was the point of that? Or you're with your boys, like, this guy looks pretty dope. Oh, now he's injured and crying. Wow. It's kind of stupid. Yes.
What I'm thinking here is that the way they played it off with him being injured and not being able to talk to Charlie backstage, I think right now it's the perfect moment for someone to swoop in and take his spot and not make him look so bad that because he can't continue because of an injury, but have this guy come and take his spot. Samoa Joe tonight makes the return on commentary. It was a breath of fresh air. Jack Farmer, tell me what you think about Samoa Joe. As a commentator, it's not the first time we've seen him do it. Would you prefer him to stay almost full-time commentary and be an occasional part-time wrestler, or is he more valuable going to the ring? Because we haven't seen him being used properly or get that proper push. Is he better off being a commentator?
It's so funny you say that. Flobo and I were texting about this, and I don't know. I mean, honestly, he's so good on him. He's so good, especially compared to, and I don't mean no offense to Jerry Lawler, but especially compared to him, you're right, a breath of fresh air is a great way to put it. It felt like he was outshining everybody, but at the same time, he was making the show seem better. He makes it seem more legit. I'm a huge fan of Samoa Joe. I'd love to see him win the world title. I don't know, though. If I was a betting man, I'd say the career is on the commentator desk right now for him, though, because he's so good. He's the best person outside. I'm a big Morrow fan. Maybe outside of Morrow, I think he's the best guy they have on the commentary booth.
Vito, you're a big Samoa Joe guy. What do you think? I mean, it seems like there's a subliminal push for him going on for months to kind of transition to commentary. We haven't seen him much in a ring. Granted, he's got the concussions, injuries. He's got a bad injury history and he's getting up there in age too.
Right.
Flobo, would you prefer him on commentary, or do you think he can make a one last run, maybe take away Apollo's spot right there? And today was like an introduction of Samoa Joe back on TV. Where do you see direction with him now? Commentary, or maybe make a final nice run?
I do see him do one more run. I'm not sure if Money in the Bank's the cause of that. I think that's kind of soon for that. But the Samoa Joe's way too valuable to not have one more run at top. The commentary thing is a very, very fickle mistress because he does it very well. At the time when Taz moved over, his first 2 years were amazing too. And over time, we kind of think Taz is kind of par for the course. I'm not knocking him down. He's an AEW. He's getting this check, LeBron James money. But think about it. He's not really in that same conversation. So as much as it's a good thing to see Joe in commentary, and as bad as Lawler was recently, I think it's too early to tell. He has a spot there. They'll give him something, but they have a whole slew of bodies in that commentary track that he has to fight for a spot, I think.
Can I either way, book real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Give a little fantasy booking. I think it'd be great, Jim, to your point, I think it'd be great if they had a little story build with Samoa Joe saying, hey, Apollo, let me help you. Let me show you how to get back on track. Let me be your friend. Apollo's like, you know what? You're such a good friend, Joe. Let me give you my shot. And then Joe goes on, he wins the briefcase, he cashes in, he gets the title, and Apollo's like, hey, remember I hooked you up? And Joe's like, no, son, I'm a killer. You were played, punk. I took your spot, I took the case, and I took the title, because that's the kind of thing Joe would do.
And that's the kind of thing Apollo would do too. He's a sucker. He's gullible. So there you go. I mean, here's the thing. I just don't see anything for Apollo, no matter what. We've seen these spurts, like little spurts and pushes for other guys that never materialize. I don't think he's their guy. If he was their guy, they would have done it years ago. But here's a guy I want to talk about who's making his re-debut tonight after a long time. My boy, Jinder Mahal. Okay,
He's your boy?
Yeah, he always was, but we haven't seen him in a hot minute. Hey, Jinder looks strong today.
No, I like Jinder. I'm surprised you like Jinder.
Yeah.
Look,
No one had better. When he was a champion, his entrances, the dancing, the music, that's hype stuff right there. I'm a big Jinder guy, man. Shout out to India, everyone. Tell me this. Jinder looked strong tonight, and he went over a jobber, which is fine, but he's now in a Raw. But I think there's something for him, at least a mid-card push. Jack Farmer, tell me what do you think about Jinder's return? It's been kind of quiet. We heard him a little bit online saying that he's ready to go, but I didn't expect him tonight. What did you think of Jinder and going forward with him?
We've never spoke about Jinder, me and you, Jim, that I can remember. But as soon as he came back on, I was reminded of him. First thing I thought is, I bet Jim loves Jinder Mahal because he seems like one of your guys. And I agree. I mean, when you got size and strength and you're built like that, I think you got to use them. It's so weird finding places for people right now because Andrade is kind of holding up that mid-card title spot. And it makes the rest of the mid-card kind of like, what do we do with this guy? I'm a big fan of Jinder as a bad guy. I want to see him do bad guy things, but it seems like he has to go the face route at this point. There's not really much for a heel to do. There's kind of overloaded on the heel standpoint. I think they could really build and dig into that whole he's returning, kind of a Drew McIntyre light. I think they could do with him. Kind of, I was hurt.
That's what he was.
I'm trying to rebuild who I am. Yeah, I think that would be that's what I would do with him, and I would have him go after that U.S. title.
Philbito, are you Jindering with us or what?
Oh, absolutely. First of all, shout out to Boom in the House of Mac, one of the biggest fans of Jinder Mahal on the planet, my man Drew. I just want to say this, man. Jinder, his title run is so underrated. His problem was his main opponent was Shinsuke Nakamura, who wasn't ready for that title anyway. So no one was going to pay to see that on tape pay-per-view. No matter how good Shinsuke was, it never quite gelled. Jinder has the body, the size, the entrance. He had two running buddies. He followed up for a year with not winning any match at all, which is why people kind of forget about it. But they did the smart thing and said, look, yes, it's Akira Tozawa versus Jinder Mahal in hour 2 of Raw, but this is the 50th ever WWE champion. That tells me something. It's not like, oh, he's coming back from an injury. This is, hey, look, the champ's looking for a spot.
They said it right away. I mean, that was a big point of the commentators making, that he was a champion. The first thing they said almost when he came out. And my boy Dylan Matthews pointing out also something I was just going to go say. This makes perfect sense, Jack. Him as a heel, build him up and straight for Drew McIntyre's next opponent, because they have a history together, 3MB. Right? They were jobbers together at one point. You could write a good angle, good script. They were both former champions that weren't expected to be champions in a sense after a 3MB run. Who would have thought? I think you have a good storyline, actually a long-term storyline. Build up Jinder, though, for a bit. I don't want to see him immediately after Seth Rollins' feud, but a feud after that, towards SummerSlam, I think that would be a great feud. You can get Jinder back to the main event scene for sure.
Question though, do you bring back Heath Slater for a pay per appearance for this angle, if you do that?
Yes, you do, as a vignette, like the way you would use maybe like a Christian in the Edge versus Randy Orton storyline, as like a side thing, as a commentary. Hey, he would be a great middleman, right? Because he was with them. He was kind of the leader of their group. So you use whoever you can in that. And I think there's tons of footage they could use. I mean, you could build real heat, both of them saying that, you know, maybe Jinder could blame him for never being over in that group, you know, that Drew was taking a spotlight or whatnot. Both of them physically looked the part too. Jinder is a legit champion. Him and Orton put on some real good matches in that whole run. I think this is a brewing to be that, and going down perfectly set, especially will give us something fresh we haven't seen before.
Yeah, I think absolutely. I think you nailed it, though, that it needs to be after some time, though, and built up. Because I think Drew should have the title for a while. And so if he's the next challenger, I think he would just be set up to get ran over by Drew again. Where I agree, I think this is more of a SummerSlam, maybe give him a few months to really build on the emotion of it and who they are and what they're doing. I agree.
You know what? Another thing we want Flobo to agree with, my boy, Bobby Lashley, again. Last week he's pushing tires. This week he's knocking out Denzels. Okay, my boy Bobby Lashley doing work. There's only one Denzel that matters, not the one tonight. But Lana's backstage. What's happening here, Flobo? Is Lana turning on Bobby? Is this going to continue? It's like every week we're getting a teaser, getting back together or not. But Bobby Lashley keeps on getting built up. That's the thing we have been seeing consistently. He's going over jobbers, whatnot, but they're still featuring him prominently. He's turning face, I feel. But my boy, you're finally going to give him a shot and go with him and see what happens.
In a word, no. Okay, so we had the storyline with Rusev and all that. It's all in the past, right?
That's all gone.
And they rushed their happy period between Lana and Lashley. They should have been a solid unit for at least a couple months more before doing this. The problem tonight, though, was that backstage promo when Bobby Lashley lied to keep Lana backstage. I was like, am I supposed to feel sympathy for Lana now? Is she the face now over Bobby Lashley? And that's the whole thing, because Lana hasn't come out and said, my husband, in a while. So that's what I'm worried about. What does a face Lana do? Lana is a natural heel. What happens now?
Jack Farmer, we're the fans of the Lashley and Lana club. How do you feel about this? Is Lana needs to be separated from Bobby or what? Or we continue this every week with suspense?
I think they keep it going. I think this is, as Flobo alluded to, this is, you don't know where it's going, but in a good way. This isn't like the Rowan Spider where you're like, what's in the cage? It doesn't really matter.
Right.
I like seeing this. Are they going to fight? Are they going to break up? Are they not going to break up? What's going to happen? I'm enjoying this. I'm enjoying wondering if I'm supposed to like someone or not like someone, or want them to stay together or want them to break up. It's like watching reality TV, which is clearly exciting because everyone watches reality TV. I could see this being like an episode of like The Bachelor or Love Island, or one of those things where you're like, are they going to get together? They hate each other, but they're still together. I'm rooting for them. I'm rooting against them. I think it's absolutely great. I love it, and I want to see more of it happen. I want to go back to adding people to it, like Liv.
Yes, we need more people. We need the story to fully blossom, okay? Because I feel like it's been stopped so many times. We need more vignettes with Bobby showing his strength, with pushing tractors or something, pushing Becky Lynch's truck or whatever. We need more Bobby, and I love that he's getting booked to get wins. That is important right now. And speaking of getting booked wins,
no, Bobby Lashley is chocolate vanilla. Go ahead, man. I can't.
No, man.
I can't.
Vanilla, they're delicious.
No, not my boy Bobby. He's getting a push right now, getting wins. But surprising someone that did not get a win. Tonight's match that didn't happen or did happen. That I thought it was main event caliber kind of on paper match between Asuka, Nia Jax, and we have Shayna Baszler in some sort of just a brawl against the ladders that didn't turn into a match. What the hell was this, Jack Farmer? This felt like it was big because they're all competing in the Money in the Bank, but this could have been a major match, and it turned into be this blow off where Nia Jax actually stood on top, it seems like.
Yeah, it was really weird. I didn't know what the point of this was, except I think all that really mattered at the end of the day was I think they were just trying to position these three women, and they're trying to place Asuka, they're re-debuting as a face, I believe. This is them changing her over to being someone we love again. And they're trying to portray Shayna Baszler as vicious, as someone who will do anything to win. And they're portraying Nia Jax as the unstoppable force, or the irresistible force that she is. And that's all it really was trying to do. But it was weird that it was like a match, but it wasn't a match. But the biggest thing is I think they were trying to say to us, Asuka is a fan favorite. She tried to get sympathy from the invisible crowd by talking about Kairi Sane. She took the beating. She was very lovable as always. She's been the star of this whole.
She's so over. She's been so over.
Yeah.
Flobo, how do you feel about Shayna Baszler getting tossed around? I think she got tossed around the most of anyone in that short little brawl.
She took
some bumps.
She had to, because like what Jack was saying, they reestablished Asuka as a face. But since Nia Jax came back, she had 2 matches against Kairi Sane. So we didn't know where she was on the alignment scale either. So tonight, here's a chance to throw around the bad person that's established and have that promo being like, nothing. Because frankly, smart move. Whether you like Nia, don't like Nia, or absolutely neutral, the internet can't stand her. So you make money and you put her up to Becky now, and you can save Shayna Baszler when theoretically a crowd will come back later. So perfect move, I thought. Being a no contest.
Flobo, I gotta take you to task, man.
Let's do it. Task.
Yes.
The internet hated Lana and Lashley, but you sat in that very chair.
I did.
No.
I did.
Stop doing
Yeah.
They're gonna stop doing
Okay, that's not my voice. That's not my voice at all. That's not my voice. That's not my voice. No, it's not.
On the podcast version, they'll think you really said that.
What's the question? Sorry, what's the question?
How can you say that people hating you on the internet makes it good to position them as an antagonist when that's literally what they were doing with Lana and Lashley, but you poo-pooed all over that?
Sure. So the main issue I had about the Lana and Lashley and Rusev storyline, I've said this a billion times, is that this storyline, as clumsily written as it is, and as long as it was, is something you can't solve in the ring. Lana and Rusev wanted a divorce, essentially, and she got someone new. Am I rooting for Rusev to beat up the new man in her life? Do I want Bobby Lashley to beat up a jilted ex-husband? How do you solve this with a match? And it gave me matches, but nothing got done because Rusev is somewhere else and Bobby's floundering. This, okay, you hate Nia?
Bobby's picking up stuff.
Whatever. Put Nia in a match. Give her the strap. Make her number one contender. Those you can solve with a match because you want Nia Jax to be beaten or have her win. That's the main difference.
Well, here's the problem we're facing, though. We have 3 individuals who are getting both pushes who debuted pretty much. Asuka with a new character in a sense, or a more featured character and role, and Nia Jax just returned, and Baszler just been added to Raw recently. So who do you put over in this? Because one of them's going to go over at Money in a Bank. I feel like no one from SmackDown has much of a chance in this ladder match. But who's the one you feature to put over? Because all of them can't get over. All of them can be competing versus Becky Lynch for that title. But you need to keep them at a main event level. Who's the one out of this group that is the most legitimate enough to have a long-term kind of payoff as the star next to Becky on Raw?
It's definitely have to be Nia. Nia's coming back with so much heat, and she has a physical size, and they have a small storyline as before. You're feeding Nia to Becky, but you're making Nia look good for the next 2-3 months. Because I really think they're hoping by Survivor Series or SummerSlam, crowd will be back. Because Shayna Baszler, as good as she is, her character is her being serious for a moment. That doesn't work in an empty arena. You need crowds to be like, boo, that's hard, that's vicious. Where on TV, having someone so much larger than Becky, it's a lot easier to sell. So Nia Jax now for Shayna later.
Nia's the right one. I agree. Yeah, because I think Shayna Baszler can be a slow burn. She can be taking out the local talent. She can take on maybe lower people in the card and stay hot. Where Nia Jax, you don't want to see her facing nobodies forever. You want to see her in a big match. And she's got that built-in issue with Becky Lynch already with the face breaker moment. And I think her having the Money in the Bank saying, hey, I can take you anytime I want is a big deal. And I think that's the thing that people would buy in, and that's what's going to sell tickets. And I think also Becky Lynch hasn't been on TV the past few weeks, and I feel like it's helped her out a bit because I'm more interested in what she's going to do now. So now I am interested when she comes back.
They're cooking up something for her. We just got to see which one of these 3 is going to be the one to be fed to her first, because hopefully they won't be pushed back down the ladder, no pun intended. My boy Dylan, come on. He thinks Mandy Rose is going to win because of help of that ugly gremlin, that bozo. No chance. No chance of that happening. No way. I'm burying Mandy Rose right now officially. This is something you will never hear again, probably.
Free Mandy, man. Free Mandy.
No, well, she's been freed from the King's Court. And before because this is coming real soon. The court is heating up. Okay, we're closing up the door, so make sure that no one gets in. But before that, does any of you, the King is giving you free reign to have your own segment or pitch or sell some butter, whatever you want to sell right now. Jack.
Hope it's unsalted, Jack. Hope it's unsalted.
I got some butter. I got Jack's Farm. He's got lots of beats dropping.
I am giving opportunities to people to sell shirts, to do anything. This is a freebie. Anyone can get their own segment right now.
Do it, Jack. Do it.
Well, funny enough, I have actually been in talks with an actual sponsor potentially.
Oh,
And we're actually going to be sponsored. I'm going to be sponsored by Smart Button, where you can get yours as well. It's a button that has all the fun Smart commentary. I'm going to have a live one here in studio very shortly, so I'll be able to officially plug it soon. But Smart Button, it's available at Smart Button across all social media or smartbutton.com.
You sold out and didn't let me know.
I love this. You've come a long way since getting satanic candles, man. It was 2 weeks ago or a week ago. This is a big improvement.
Satanic candles would get you a lot of things.
Oh, yeah,
It costs a lot. No, it's a deal that's still happening as we speak. I'm still waiting for the Smart Button to arrive in studio, but once it does, you guys will be the first to see it.
Oh, this is breaking news here.
That's right. Smartbutton.com. Check it out.
All right. There you go.
Before we check out and into the King's Court, we need to check out and get a take for my girl, Liv Morgan's match tonight against, I thought I was deja vu or something, Ruby Riott versus Liv Morgan 2 weeks in a row. Liv Morgan goes over both times. This seemed so wasted in a sense, like where's this going? What's the purpose of it? She went over Ruby last week. She goes over with the same move into oblivion again this week. What is going on here, Flobo, with Liv Morgan and Ruby Riott on a weekly basis? And is this helping Liv? Is there a hope for her? What's going on with this Ruby Riott thing? We need to end this.
You're no doubt my mind is wasted. I beat my chest and said, hey, look, there's Riott Squad stuff in Elimination Chamber you're absolutely ignored. So you had 2 matches, Liv wins them both, and on the microphone she goes, I'm gonna go find myself. I think, I'm not trying to knock Lana or anything, but this coming of Liv was incomplete. I really felt there was another storyline, another background character for her that was ignored with the re-debut being Lana's lover. And I think they're going back to the drawing board to come up with Liv Morgan 3.0. So you have Ruby Riott in there, lose 2 matches. This feud is done as far as I'm concerned. But then watch next Monday to be a best of 7, and I'll be like, oh, my bad, I was wrong.
I'd love it if it was Liv.
Yeah, Liv Morgan feels like WWE is constantly saying to us, Liv Morgan is important. Liv Morgan's a star. Liv Morgan has a lot of big things coming. We're just not quite sure what they are yet. So sit tight, and in a few weeks, I'm sure we'll come up with something.
Is this a reset on Liv? I felt like that interview with Byron was like a reset. Like she just debuted or came back from something, and they just like ask her some questions, like, and she's giving the same tease. She kind of like, I'm finding myself. That was her gimmick when she came back with the Lana thing. I feel like they're going in a circle. They want to push her because she's clearly getting pushed and going over. They have no opponent for her. They have no plans, in a sense, storyline for her. They're just holding on to this thing that she came out and initially in a promo saying she's finding herself. What is she finding? We need to know more, because right now this is getting to a crossroad where Liv Morgan is going to either thrive or she's going to falter because they have nothing for her. Clearly, she's not in the Money in a Bank match, which she should be for now, even if she wasn't planned to be, the one to win it, but she should be occupying that spot. I don't know what's going on with my girl, and I want to know that this attempt at least is something that's going to take her forward and not keep her fumbling around getting meaningless wins or losses with no storyline in sight.
Yeah, right? the promo afterwards felt like they said to her, hey, we don't know what we're doing with you yet, so just say something. Because there was like nothing actually said. It was like, hey, big things are coming.
I thought someone's going to debut or interrupt. I think that felt the moment that someone's going to interrupt her, but it didn't.
Yeah.
But you know what?
Very weird.
I'm interrupting this segment because it is time. It is time for the King to lock up and invite everyone to his court. King's Court is officially open. Oh, hail Jim Alexander. He is the king of AfterBuzz.
That's pretty good this week. I don't know.
AfterBuzz King Talks. Well, I am talking. The King's Court is live. Liv Morgan, they might not have storylines for you. I have a story always for you right here next to me in the King's Court. It's a bedtime story. It's a good one. I can't share too much of it. It's me and Liv. It used to be Mandy's spot, but Mandy's with some, I don't even know what to call that ogre, that slug out there on SmackDown. I can't watch it. I can't take it. It is disgustingly hideous to me what's going on with Mandy Rose. That is just something I will not talk about. But thankfully, Liv Morgan is right here with me. We had new guests over. We had the Nuggets girl from Burger King. We had a lot of guests, but we don't have that much room right now. So we need to start clearing out and getting the right people in it. Alexa Bliss, you need to be a regular. I mean, come on, let's bring you out here. Alexa Bliss, we are bringing in the Iconics. They won't be shown on TV. Well, they are spending time rightfully right here in the King's Court. Okay, we got the Iconics. We have ESPN Ashley. For those of you that don't know, now you can watch SportsCenter and know what I'm talking about. We have Charlotte for 2 weeks. She didn't show up this week, so she doesn't get an entry. Okay, we have Lana. Okay, because she's smiling up at us probably because Bobby's about to pull a number on her. So we got Lana. Welcome up here.
Wow.
We got, I will say this. I forgot to say this on NXT. I'm bringing Bianca Belair because with those scrubs, she's just too good for them. So Bianca Belair, come on in to the King's Court. That's right. You can swing your hair. You can swing anything you want here in the King's Court. And manning the door. What? Manning the door. Manning the door. Apollo Crews, because you're on one crutch right now. You're more than welcome to be on a lookout before the door. We have my boy Bobby Lashley putting up a tire so no one can get in. Okay, we have a lot of things going on. So no one's entry. No one. You need to have a passport to come in here. So if you're out of the country, no luck coming in here right now because Zelina Vega is also, by the way, with her outfits, has made herself a regular here. And of course, Charlie Caruso with her curls. So that's the King's Court for this week. And you know what? Before I exit out, we're going to go straight into the segment with Charlie. Oh, we have a question?
I have a question here. Someone who's never been to King's Court for like 2 months. See, the Mandy Rose thing. You've never, ever punched above your weight class before? I mean, Otis is doing the thing we all want to do, man. Just ask the pretty
It's unrealistic.
What's wrong?
Listen, I am never an advocate for someone to get fired, but the writer who apparently got let go for this, I think there's work that wasn't done properly. There's a reason for a release because writing such garbage, writing such trash stories, you know, in my world, that's not realistic. No way would a slug like him ever end up with a girl like that. Guys like me, guys like Jack, guys like Flobo have a shot to get a Mandy Rose. Not those gremlins that stay in a basement, okay, that never see the light of day, or guys that have a stomach bigger than 3 watermelons combined will ever have a chance to get a Mandy Rose. Okay, this is the most unrealistic storyline in the history of wrestling, okay? Because no one will ever believe that guy would have a chance with that chick.
Gobbledygooker, Otis and Mandy. That's the most unbelievable storyline.
And my boy Dolph got screwed on this whole thing in the process. Shameful. But you know what's not shameful? Another boy of mine who gives hope to all the minions at home that don't have no chance with a Mandy. Look at what Angel Garza does. Look at how he approaches Charlie Caruso, gives her a flower. Charlie's smitten with him. Tell me how much you guys are loving this Angel Garza, Charlie Caruso thing. Do we want to see more of this?
Yes, absolutely, yes. I think it's so great. And Charlie, man, she does a very good job selling it as well. She looks like she's really into it. And I think Angel Garza comes off smooth and cool. He's the kind of guy, I don't know how much longer he can stay a villain because I love Angel Garza. I think everyone loves Angel Garza. It's going to be hard to not love him. I think a lot of people get the old Eddie Guerrero comparison gets thrown around to just about everyone, but he's got that kind of that charisma that makes him so lovable. I think Angel Garza is going to be such a big deal. I love that guy. And I like that he's chatting up Charlie. Good for him.
Lobo, you think he has a shot with Charlie? What's happening?
Yeah, that's going to be your storyline of the weekend, man. That's going to be your – because, look, Angel Garza has a package. That archetype works all the time. I alluded to this on Twitter. I'm not a fan of the lethal Lothario because, frankly, if you were a woman or ladies' man or womanizer, you wouldn't use the word Lothario. It just seems kind of like someone looked to a book and was like, oh, yes, you were the Lothario. No, or like, you're
yeah, that's like 1800 stuff.
Oh,
like,
absolutely.
You wouldn't tell a girl you're lethal either. I think that's
exactly.
Well, depends on what department, okay?
Yeah, so that to me doesn't ring true, but I mean, if Angel Garza says himself, I think they'll come up with something else, you know? Like, what's the difference between the man versus the last kicker? It's just time. So
it's cool for Charlie. I like Charlie's getting actually a storyline here, right? For one, she's been doing great work backstage, doing the interviews. I think, and on the commentary and whatever she does, the hosting of the pre-shows. I like this Charlie's finally being utilized because she's got good mic skills. She can talk. She can play off the part like as she's done. She's a better performer than half of some of the performers in a locker room, right? I mean, especially on the mic and just making it feel authentic in a lot of ways. So I like that. And this shows me also that they need to separate Angel Garza from that group because he's too above everyone with his mic skills. Besides Zelina and stuff, he can do it on his own as opposed to those other two guys. And that kind of brings me up to the next thing. We've been seeing the vignettes for a couple weeks now with the Viking Raiders. They're driving in a car. They're becoming a tag team of the late 80s, apparently, with like their, you know, the wannabe Road Warriors or Demolition, just like trying to be goofy and stuff. What is going on here with the Viking Raiders? You guys liking what we're seeing here? They're kind of being goofy and comedic, and they're showing some personality. Is this better, Flo, I see you nodding, than what we've seen from them being kind of the brawlers and the non-talking, ass-kicking Vikings, or these kind of comedians with a personality?
I want to put you over first, Jim, because I like the fact you use a Demolition reference. You know? Here comes the axe. Yeah. Here comes the smasher. Look, I know NXT is a whole different world. When people come up and try to figure out what it is, you know, We Want the Smoke was over NXT. It's now starting to be over in Raw in a whole different way. Look, if you're the Viking Raiders and you're going to be the Viking horn things, you can't be the War Raiders. You can't really throw your body out in the ring every week on Raw. Let's try something. Yeah, last week I was on board for the comedic take of Viking Raiders. I was on board for that because I was like, okay, if that's the direction we're going, then I'm willing to try it because you haven't been on TV forever. But then this week was kind of like, screw you for watching the show last week. We're going back to where we were before. And it came with the most meandering promos I've seen from a tag team in a while. So if I had stock in that group, I'm already selling because I don't know what they are, what they stand for, why they hit the Street Profits all of a sudden. I mean, what's going on with that?
Truth. What about you, Jack?
I thought, again, you deserve credit for the Demolition reference. Proof that we all watch pro wrestling, everybody.
Occasionally, maybe I just saw a clip.
You Googled it before it. No, they got to do one or the other. If they either got to be the Vikings, and if they are, they should never talk ever because they don't sound like it sounds silly when they try to do the "we're gonna plunder and take over." It sounds silly. So they got to do one thing or the other. Now, I'm not a huge fan of the silly stuff, but of them driving around. But at the same time, I think they kind of used up all their miles on what they were doing, being just Vikings beating people. So they've got to do something because history has shown if you're a tag team that's unwilling to pivot and start doing something else, you're bound to just disappear off of TV. So if I'm them, I'm saying, hey, let's give this a shot because it at least gives us a second life.
Speaking of second life, we had a chance tonight. I was hoping for it. When Ricochet and Cedric went over the jobbers who had like the Saints logo on their pants and were like, they sounded like the name was like a 90s boy band or whatever, and they look kind of the part. Or failed like Creed musician backups to Creed. These dudes... Yeah, they were bad. But Cedric Alexander nonetheless gets a win with Ricochet. Then we see MVP on the screen. I thought I was going in for that. He wants like, hey, guys, I see the potential in you. I want to represent you. But we got this Swerve, and he's got two NXT guys next to him. Tell me you guys were thinking the same thing. Like MVP was money. He could have been that voice that we've been talking for Ricochet and Cedric Alexander. Was this a missed opportunity, Jack Farmer, that we saw the reveal of MVP with two NXT guys?
Yes and no. I think it was a missed opportunity because I think there's a lot more mileage on Cedric and Ricochet than there are on Shane Thorne and Brandon Vink. But I think everything with MVP is sort of per appearance. And so they're trying to do short-term things with him. I think him being there is just to legitimize Shane Thorne and Brandon Vink to give them another excuse to have another mid-card tag team match with those guys down the road. And I said last week, I thought those two did a bang-up job, and I think that this is their reward for it. I don't think they're going to be huge stars still. I don't think this is going to be long-term. I think they're probably just going to have a rematch and come up short. But, again, I think MVPs they're using for short-term booking, and if that's the case, then this is good. Long-term, I would have preferred them with Cedric and Ricochet, though.
Yeah, you're right. It was a definite swerve. But then this leads to the bigger question. Like, I love the guy, but who is MVP to Monday Night Raw? Is he a competitor? Is he a talk show segment? Is he a general manager? Is he a manager? Is he kind of shut up one day and say, hey, can I do some stuff? So he came on the Titantron. He's everything, which is great.
Jack of all trades, yeah.
Yeah, Jack Farmer of all trades, yeah. But the thing is, we have this situation where the Raw and SmackDown is like, we're not doing general managers, but some guy could be 3 different roles in one show. So I thought it was going to be, hey, guys, I want to be your manager. I can accept that because of the VIP lounge. But then he's managing other people and doing this talk show segment. It's getting muddled now. Do Brendan Vink and Shane Thorne walk out to the VIP lounge next week? Are they his muscle when he has matches? Is it a stable? Is it a tag team? I have no idea.
No one knows, but the best use could have been for everyone, right? We would have known that MVP's the manager and the mouthpiece, the perfect mouthpiece for 2 guys who can't talk. He can pitch their high-flying moves and be the talker. Like, this was a win for all 3 of them, and that would have taken them to the next level. We've been talking about the next level for Ricochet and Cedric. What do you do with them? They're good in the ring. They need that push. MVP was the perfect guy to take them to that next level, be that voice, give them credibility, and just pitch them as a manager would, that this is my team and they're solid and I'm going to tell you why. And you could have made them cooler. Like, they're just cool to kids now. It's high fives, but they could have been like kind of badasses. They could have an edge to them being with MVP. I thought it was a completely wasted opportunity there that was teased right in front of us, but they pulled the rug from underneath us. So,
and Jim,
man,
sorry to interrupt. To your point though, and it would play right into MVP's character if they started having. I would start basing Cedric and Ricochet off of the NFL wide receiver type guy that is very flashy. Make them all very flashy. Like, hey, I'm a super athlete. I can run. I can jump. I can catch. I can do all this stuff, and kind of give them that almost like a Odell Beckham Jr. kind of style, or like a Richard Sherman kind of style, or like where they talk smack, they're flashy because they know they're better than you. They're edgy because they're more physical than you. And then you have MVP drive it home with the mic skills to validate that as well. I think that could have been really cool. Unfortunately, like I said, I think they kind of just say, well, how can we use MVP just this week?
Well, I want to say that Haywood Wong is wrong because he's saying that that's a tough thing to do. Wong wrong, whatever it is. But here's the thing. I know he was hired as an agent, but here's the thing. He is useful to be a mouthpiece. That's what he does best. The guy has got A+ skills when it comes to the mic. This is a better way. He could be an agent no matter what. Half of the guys on the roster that appeared, Kurt Angle was an agent. He was appearing. You can use him on screen roles too and be an agent too. That was the way to make MVP look good with his skills and pass it off to someone that could really use him. But guess wasted opportunity. And finally, we're not going to close this out because the main event, in a sense, is a classic contract signing. And we know what happens with those. Chaos ensues. I like this contract signing between Drew McIntyre and Seth Rollins. You had that kind of subtle promos going back and forth to each other. It wasn't overdrawn or long. I like how they executed with a little surprise from Murphy. What'd you think of this, Jack Farmer? How did you like how this all turned out this time around?
I loved it. I actually thought it was great. Usually I don't like some contract signings are hit and miss. I thought that Seth Rollins did great with what he said and being serious, and with the line that I think is going to be replayed many times. I said it on Twitter, is how he said, there's a bigger picture and you're going to be thankful for this. And I think at Money in the Bank, something's happening. Whether he wins or loses, Seth Rollins is doing something that's going to be big, whether it be adding someone to his stable, whether it's AOP coming back, something big is happening. And we're going to hear that statement in promo videos going forward for a very long time. But I thought it was fun. It was everything you look for in a contract signing. I thought they did a very good job. And Seth Rollins, biggest heel of the year for not having a pocket square in his suit. How dare he?
Not fair at all.
This is from men who wear suits all the time and have the first intel on what it is to wear a suit and be a gentleman. Okay, and speaking of gentlemen, right now, we're going back to Flobo. Flobo, how'd you like the use of Murphy here? Interfering, was that a surprise to you? Did you like how he came back to, because it was almost like an angle that wasn't explained what happened to Murphy, and AOP just kind of faded off, disappeared. Did you like Murphy coming in here, taking the hit for Rollins? And what do you think this makes it going forward?
Yeah, so the thing about Murphy is I kind of forgot about him. I guess that's the discredit of this storyline because they was a unit that got broken up. But I'm glad he showed up. They're starting to take the Claymore. Murphy's really good at selling moves. Look at them like real devastating. Of course, you don't want to do the classic 50-50 booking because, next week, Seth Rollins is going to get the upper hand on Drew McIntyre and that's going with the Money in the Bank. But look, I felt this way with the Becky Shayna contract signing, and I feel this way now more. In 2020, in this age of being virtual and DocuSign, why are we still having contract signings? I don't see the point of these anymore. They should be waived or something else. It's so weird to sit there and have this conversation in an empty room. So I have no idea, bro.
To your point, I put in my notes, it's interesting. They have the whole performance center to use. They could have done this in like an office. I mean, still have everything that happened, but they could have done it in like a different room that made it feel more natural instead of going out to the ring, because without a crowd, there's no point in doing it in the ring. You can do the story at like a conference table. They showed that conference table a few times. I think it would have been cool to see them brawl in there or do something. I mean, you have the space and you're not losing anything by getting out of the crowd. That really surprised me as well. But to your point, I think the DocuSign is probably the way most of these are happening now.
Click and submit. We're good.
Here's the thing about this storyline, though. We are being reminded that 1 week from Sunday, it's already Money in the Bank. This storyline, I've said it from the beginning, it was way too rushed. But does it feel to you guys like it feels to me so rushed already? You had the contract signing. You have nothing to play off of these two. It feels like it was a blink of an eye that they started feuding together and we're about to have the match. Like we saw promo last week from Seth from his couch. You haven't had the buildup of anything. How do you feel about this being basically you have one more Raw before this blow off happens at Money in the Bank? And does it even feel like this feud has started?
Two major problems. One, there's no reason why Money in the Bank should be so close to WrestleMania, even in a normal pay-per-view calendar. And two, I'm not sure if it's part of the coronavirus thing. However, Keven Owens has not been around. He won the match against Seth Rollins. So if anything, he should be the next one to go, or at least be taken out by Seth or written off somewhere. He won his match and disappeared. So Seth Rollins, a guy who couldn't beat Keven Owens, who visually doesn't look nearly as good as Drew McIntyre, is now the number one contender because there's no Raw general manager on this brand, and gets a shot a week from Sunday at Money in the Bank. Who's running the asylum? That's a question I have.
Seth Rollins is running the asylum. That's why he got the shot. Well, Big Show was, but then he got Claymore and he gave it up to Seth Rollins. Right. It's you had mentioned this before, Jim. It's very similar to the whole AJ Styles Seth Rollins feud from last year. I wonder if that's going to be something we should expect from a formulaic standpoint. If that we're going to see sort of a big match right after Mania, it's sort of like a throwaway feud. I don't think it's going to matter. Again, I think that Seth Rollins is really building up to something else non-title related and is going to go off that direction, win, lose, or draw anyways. And I think Drew McIntyre is going to go off in a different direction. This feels like a placeholder to me. Could have held off on it, but I also think that their hands are tied with who they have on the roster.
I think tonight gave me clarity of what's going to happen with this. I think Murphy was perfectly planned because what is going to happen, because we know Drew McIntyre, there's no chance in hell he's dropping that title or losing this. The one, you can't have Seth Rollins lose clean because it's not a good look for a guy trying to build himself up, especially 2 pay-per-views in a row losing clean. What you do here is have Murphy turn on Seth Rollins and go face, and then you have Seth Rollins go off and feud Murphy, because that makes a lot of sense. And you have a built-in history there between these two. And right now, because I think it's more of a payoff to have Murphy turn on Seth and kind of go solo. And then you can build the whole story that he was holding him down for a little bit, that, he didn't do anything for his career in the time they were together. And that's a good way to blow off that feud and not have Seth go over cleanly by Drew just looking weak. I think the interference from Murphy next time is to screw Seth. And I think that happens at Money in the Bank.
That would be actually really cool too, because then Seth could say that Buddy Murphy's sort of his Judas, the guy that betrayed him. He calls himself the Messiah. The next thing in the whole Jesus analogy is he needs someone to betray him, right? So that could be the thing. You could play it up that, hey, you betrayed me, you're my Judas, and then those two go off in a feud. And you're right, it would write it off without making Seth look bad. I just don't know if they planted the seeds in time for that.
Yeah, that was my concern. I think what you said, Jim, makes a lot of sense, and I want to see that. But that's why right now, if I had the Raw roster and I had the parts to work with, you still have Aleister Black there. He's the anti-Seth. I think that could be something you can stretch out for either a feud or an event equal to or equivalent to WrestleMania in Saudi Arabia or whatever, that pay-per-view before SummerSlam or what have you, because then you can reestablish what makes Seth great, what makes Aleister great, and then you can do the betrayal from Buddy Murphy. At least they have weeks of them being side by side because they were kind of in their separate ways heading to Mania.
Are you guys on do you see, as I see, that Drew McIntyre is the champion for a long term here? I expect a long run from this guy. I think into the fall, maybe even for the remainder of this year. I think it's going to be like a Brock Lesnar type of run for him, especially in the times we're in now. And I think he's a good representation for the company, the way he's been. How do you see Drew's title run? I mean, we can see the feud slowly, seeing that maybe Kevin Owens has a match because he kind of is owed maybe one after beating Seth with Drew, maybe face versus face somehow, or Owens can always turn heel, and then we see a Jinder thing. How do you see Drew's run, in a sense, going deep, and do you see him holding on for the title for a long term?
Unless he does something terrible, and unless they feel like they need to get the title off of him, I think he's holding the title until there's crowds again, and however long that is. Maybe longer than that, but at least until there's crowds back. I don't see any reason to take the title off him until there's a crowd. So depending on how long this goes, it could be months, it could be whatever, hopefully not years. But I think he's holding it until we get crowds back, unless he does something absolutely, unless something really bad happens where they're like, we got to take the title off of him.
Absolutely. We've seen in wrestling history when there's a down period, there tends to be longer title reigns. That way, if someone's not watching week to week, they can still be part of the loop. So they don't feel like, oh, that guy lost to that guy lost to this guy. And it seems, you look at the champions now, with the exception of, I don't know, Sami Zayn. I think a lot of the title, or Drew McIntyre, a lot of titles haven't really changed hands that much. The Universal title has as well, because Goldberg was on his way out. So I'm not thinking we're going to get like 24/7. Even that title has slowed down the number of title changes based on the number of viewers on the brand. So I think we're in a slow holding pattern. Drew's a specimen. That's the one that looks intimidating. Put him on a poster. If I'm WWE, I will give him the strap for a long period of time.
And I think we're seeing a little bit of a concern here, because now that the era of no audiences is kind of firmly established, or we've been through it now for a little bit, we are seeing that there's a lack of feuds going on and lack of storylines. And every week we're seeing a one-off match. We're just seeing kind of like jobbers versus guys they want to put over. Before, when you could have navigated, you had a lot of built-in storylines before when the crowds were still around, right? That's why it helped WrestleMania feel still good, and a lot of the feuds felt still legitimate and good enough built. But now we're starting to see that after WrestleMania, there's a lack of wrestlers that are attending on a weekly basis. We're seeing the same flow of Zelina and Tozawa even every week. We're seeing a same kind of roster of people. Will this be a problem going forward, that we're not establishing big enough storylines to take us forward? Besides right now, even the Seth versus Drew, their biggest storyline, it feels weak. Like, what do we do going forward to establishing legitimate angles and storyline?
There is nothing you can do. And the reason being is that because this event is so unprecedented, every talent can opt out of coming to work. And they said, Triple H said it on Corey Graves' podcast, there is no heat. So if I build a storyline against a Roman Reigns and he goes, I'm not coming, I'm immunocompromised, then you can't fault him for that. So you can try to build up things. And we've seen that with Tozawa. He's on every week now. We've seen that with Apollo Crews. You got 6-7 segments today. But for us who watch wrestling from the good time and the crowd times, it comes off as saccharine. Like, really? This clown? Whatever. But then the alternative is NXT graduates, or seeing people having long promos like we do today too. So it is going to be a rough time for a lot of us. The idea that we can do now is pick a couple of new faces and say, all right, to Hootie Miles, I'm going to follow you and see where brand you go to, because you know what? You're the guy. You come to work every week.
Oh, man. That's desperate.
Yeah, they're definitely in a place where I think they're feeling the pinch of the old days when they used to have such a big roster that when in doubt, you throw a 3-on-3 tag match together and there's enough star power in it to make you care whether there's something on the line or not. And or you have someone just beat someone else. If they lose a few, they win a few, they can do 50-50 booking, etc. But now, because the roster is so small, they're going to have to learn to be very careful about who wins, who loses, how they're presented, because those are the same resources they're going to have to come back to. And like Tozawa, okay, he's helped a lot of guys. He's been great putting people over, but at some point he's just going to be a guy who loses every time. And they're going to have to either revalidate him to give him a reason to be on every week, or they're going to have to find some way to replace him, because you can't see the same guy lose every single week for 6 months.
Well, he's NXT.
Right.
That counts.
We'll see what happens. A lot of uncertainty going forward, but I know it's time to wrap up. When Fobo's writing in a chat that Bailey's the GOAT, I know it's time to go out, because that's
true,
not the right
dang
thing
it.
to say.
It's true.
That's awful, okay? But you know what's not awful? Sign off, Mr. Jack Farmer. Tell us where people can reach you and get a hold of the man with the button going famous soon.
Yeah, you can find me at jackcfarmer.com, as well as at RealJackFarmer across all social media. You can also check me out on the AEW social media skim every Monday night, as well as AEW Dynamite at the show every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Also, make sure to check out the Smart Button, smartbutton.com. Get yours today.
Please don't inject any Clorox or anything, Flobo, because you're scaring me when you're saying Bailey's the GOAT. But please sign up and tell us everything's good. And where can people reach you and check up on you?
Sure. After I'm done unfollowing Jim on social media, follow me at Twitter at FloboBoys, on Instagram at Flobito, and Flobito.com. Support the homie and buy a t-shirt at Flobito.threadless.com.
And check out What's Up Flobo all the time, man. Good stories.
Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays on YouTube.
That's right. He's got some insider stuff that will interest a lot of you. And I always interest all of you. So, you can reach me at The Real Talker. That's where I'm at. That's where I'm putting up interviews, posts, realtalker.com, Real Talker on YouTube. Subscribe there. And, of course, at the Jim Alexander on social media. This was a fun little chat by the 3 Musketeers of Wrestling, right? 3 champs. For now, we're signing off. And see you later, nerds. We'll be back next week.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.